All right, you guys. So today we are going to get a look at the new vintage collection. The vintage collection has returned to the Star Wars universe for spring of 2018. And so I was actually fortunate enough to be able to pick up 4 out of the new wave of the vintage collection. Now, what they are obviously doing is adding some of the new characters from the sequel trilogy as well as the standalones, as you can see with Jyn Erso there. And then, of course, we have 3 of the characters from the Saga trilogy: Snoke, Kylo Ren, and Rey. So very cool and very, very awesome, guys. Now, obviously, these particular figures are exactly the same ones that you would get in the 3 1/4 size Black Series line that comes with the black box with the red insides. However, I don't believe that there is a Snoke available in that particular line. So he is actually a new figure for this particular type of articulation, and these are super articulated as well, guys. But obviously, I believe we do have Rey, and I definitely have a couple of Jyn Ersos in the Black Series line, and I believe this is the exact figure from that same particular line. I believe I may also have Kylo Ren in that line, if I'm not mistaken, if my recollection is not failing me here. But very cool, guys. Now, as I had mentioned with the 40th anniversary carded 6-inch figures, I did not open those, or it's not my intention to open those, because as a kid, I didn't get a chance to collect the figures in the carded form and keep them in the carded form. So now that I'm older and much wiser, I would prefer to keep some of these figures in their carded form here, in the carded packaging. Now I do have 2 of the Snokes in this vintage line. Now if it happens that they do not produce a Black Series Snoke that comes in a black box, I prefer that, because you can take those out of the box and put them back in. You can basically reuse the packaging. Obviously with these, once you break the packaging, it's just not really, you know, I know some people like to collect the cards themselves, but to me, once you bust the packaging, it's really no good. So again, I want to keep these in the packaging. However, I may open the other Snoke that I have, just so I can use him with my BB-8 Super Destroyer set that also doubles as Snoke's throne room. It is a 3 1/4 size set, and obviously the Snoke that you get with it is just a 5 POA Snoke, and when you sit him on the throne, he kind of has his legs sticking out. Now with this particular super articulated Snoke, I can actually sit him on the throne, and he can actually do it in the actual sitting position. So I'm very excited to get a super articulated Snoke, so I may open up that packaging on the second vintage collection Snoke that I have. So but I wanted you guys to get a look at these. They are brand new for the Hasbro line, and we're just going to get a quick look at all of the carded figures here, guys. Now again, I won't be opening these up, so it won't be a full review with articulation and whatnot, but if you get a good look at the figure, guys, and I apologize for the glare, you can see the joints in the arms are very articulated. You can see in the ankles, the feet. So this is a super articulated figure, and we all know what those look like from the Black Series line. So again, I think I'm going to prefer to keep these in their carded form. And then there is the first wave of figures that you guys see there. And I actually have 4 of them. I'm missing the First Order Trooper as well as the Rebel Soldier there. So I will be picking those up whenever I get an opportunity. I actually had those 2 in my possession the other day when I went to another Target. However, they would not sell me the figures because, guys, these figures have a street date of April 13th. So they're not supposed to be sold or released until April 13th. However, I was lucky enough to have somebody override the pricing for me, and I was able to purchase these here today. I'm actually getting a cool opportunity to display these on my channel kind of early before they're actually released on the street. But some have been picking these up in other areas of the United States in a similar fashion that I picked them up. It's not like I'm the only one that has these, but it is kind of cool to kind of get these before the street date. Now, as you can see, these are punched. And I think if you're going to be getting the in the wild from any of the regular retailers, you're more than likely going to find that the cards are punched. I know some collectors prefer to not have these cards punched. If you're into having your cards not punched, I would suggest buying these from one of the online vendors. Perhaps they sell these in a minted, carded condition, unpunched. So you may have to go that route in order to find these particular cards. Ray is going to be Vintage Collection 116 in the Vintage Collection, guys. And here again is the Ray edition. Very cool, very nice card. You get the little Kenner sign right there at the bottom, Ray Jakku, and then you get the Force Awakens there in between our normal iconic Star Wars symbol. So very, very cool and awesome. Getting you a look at Kylo Ren. There is Kylo Ren, guys. And I believe they gave this to us in the Black Series line, guys. The 3 1/4 Black Series line, if I'm not mistaken. So I should have this if that is the case, but my recollection is actually failing me if this figure was actually available in that line, but I do believe it was. And I believe I do have it, but I'd have to check my inventory. But again, on the back, we have all of the information there. Vintage Collection 117. So that is going to be Kylo Ren number in the carded line, guys. Then, of course, guys, getting a look at Jyn Erso. We have Jyn Erso, and then, of course, we have Rogue One underneath the Star Wars iconic logo. Then we have our figure on the inside. I think I have like 4 or 5 of these in the Black Series line in the 3 1/4 size. Again, the Kenner symbol there on the packaging, guys. Really, really nice. And, of course, the same information on the back. But, of course, it's always very cool to see that imagery on the Vintage Collection 119. So, again, 119 in the Vintage Collection line. And then, of course, guys, we have our Supreme Leader Snoke. And we have, again, the Last Jedi logo in between the Star Wars logo. Very cool articulated figure, super articulated figure. One of the noticeable appearances, I believe, that's different from the 5 POA version, if I'm not mistaken, that red lining on the belt there. I don't know if you guys can see that. I believe that's different from the 5 POA version. I haven't seen my 5 POA version in a little bit, but that's a bit different there. I believe that's the only difference that I noticed. And of course, again, we have the Kenner symbol there on the card, guys. So very cool. And then, of course, again, on the information on the back, just the same information. But again, very cool imagery nonetheless. So, and then, of course, your Supreme Leader Snoke is going to be Vintage Collection 121 in the Vintage Collection line, guys. So very awesome. All right, guys, so there they are. Those are the Vintage Collection 3 1/4 size figures, carded figures that you see there. New to the Hasbro line, guys, just released this spring, guys. Actually, the street day for these again is going to be April 13th. So you may see these in your local Targets or Walmarts if you are here in the United States. And incidentally, guys, just so you're aware, the pricing on the Vintage Collection is going to be $12.99. At least that's what they rang up for here in Los Angeles, California. But basically, I would figure around 12 to 13 bucks, maybe a little bit less, again, depending on where you are. And where you find these particular All right, you guys, and just a real quick update for the channel, guys, something that you can look forward to in the very, very near future. Obviously, we are going to get the Solo trailer. I believe it's going to be a full trailer for the Solo movie that's going to be premiering tonight, I believe, around 8 or 7 Central, I believe, I'm not mistaken. So you can look forward to my reaction to the trailer, also coming up on the channel. As you can see, the items here in front of you, we will be reviewing these particular items. That will be the Solo land speeder from the Solo film, guys. I was able to get my hands on this. This is an item that has a street date of 4/13, so I was able to get my hands on that fairly early. And then, of course, I was also able to finally get my hands on the 6-inch Black Series Lando, and we'll be doing that particular review on the channel very, very soon. And then, of course, as you can see, we also were able to get our hands on the 3 1/4 size 5 POA Rose BB-8 and BB-9E. So very cool. Finally got my hands on that as well, guys. So we will be reviewing all of those particular items on the channel coming up very shortly on the channel in the next week. And then, of course, again, guys, you can check my reaction for the Solo trailer that will be premiering this evening. So, guys, do please come back and check that out. There it is, guys. Very awesome figures. Very, very cool. So if you're thinking about collecting the new vintage line in the carded form, guys, here it is, guys. And I think they're really cool figures. And what's most important is I would like to know what your thoughts are. Are you interested in collecting the vintage line? Will you be keeping these on the card if you do collect the line? Are you going to be looking for cards that are unpunched? Let me know. Put those comments down below. Please like and subscribe. And of course, guys, from the Father to the Son to the Obi-Wan Force Ghost, may the Force be with you always.